You totally want to get these creatures early in Palworld so you can fly, unlock a way better glider, gather resources faster and do way more damage. So the first pal you want to catch is Cattiva, as they can really speed up your early base building and resource gathering. Luckily, you can also find this cat-like creature in the starting area, like if you explore around the area where you literally start the game, you should see them pop up very quickly. They should be at a low level too, so really easy to catch with the standard capture sphere, and as soon as you have one, you should put it to work on your base. Now the reason why Cattiva is such a good base pal is because of its skill set. Each pal has a list of things they can do, which you can see from either the party menu or the pal deck, and Cattiva is able to help out with handiwork, transporting, gathering and mining. So this means it can help you out when you're building or crafting something, it will carry items around and stuff them in storage boxes, it will mine rock and ore veins if you have any in your base, and if you want them to help you out with a specific task, you can simply pick them up and toss them at your current project and they'll start working right away. This also works if Cattiva is in your active party and you throw the sphere at a crafting project. So really a lot of skills that make your life a lot easier, and if you need even more work done, you can always catch another one and have multiple Cattivas active in your base. Also, if you plan to gather a lot of resources, it might be smart to bring one in your active party, as their partner skill Cat Helper increases your max carrying capacity by 50. Once your base is set up and your Cattivas are hard at work, it's time to explore the rest of the islands, and one thing that can really help out with that is a mount. In case you don't know, you can unlock and craft saddles for specific pals, which allows you to ride them as a mount. And the first saddle you are able to unlock already at tech level 6 is for the pal Rushoar. Keep in mind that if you haven't caught one yet, the saddle will appear as a question mark in your tech tree, so that's going to be our first order of business. And lucky for us, these two can easily be found on the starting island, although you have to travel to the west side, which is a bit further from the spawn. An easy spot to find one is by heading east from the small settlement fast travel point. We found one after barely setting foot outside the village. Like Cattivas, Rushoars appear at lower levels, so they shouldn't prove too much of a problem to catch. Once you have one and you have crafted a saddle at a pal workbench, you can ride it by throwing it out and holding the partner skill button, so F on keyboard and X or square on a controller. Riding around on a mount is of course much faster than walking on foot, but Rushoar actually has another benefit, because while mounted, you can use your pal's combat abilities, and Rushoar's reckless charge skill is not only a powerful combat move, it's also an amazing tool for mining. Charge straight at an ore deposit to break it apart, and while you still need multiple charges to deplete a single formation, it is a lot faster than doing it with a pickaxe. And totally subscribe to the channel, by the way, as we will have way more tips to make your life in Palworld easier, and of course leave a like if you enjoyed the video so far. Now let's move on to a very important pal for your base, Foxsparks. These can be found in the middle part of the starting island, and they're probably the first fire type pal you come across. And this is important because as a fire type pal, Foxsparks has access to the kindling skill in base. Any structures that require heat need to be powered by a pal with the kindling skill, and the first one of these is the very important primitive furnace. This structure allows you to melt down the ore you collect into ingots, which are super important if you want to upgrade to a higher tier of equipment quickly. So having one or more creatures with kindling to work at your base is key if you want to advance, and to my knowledge, Foxsparks is the quickest to find and the easiest to catch. If you have trouble finding one, simply follow the path from the grassy Behemoth Hills fast travel point back up the hill. Keep an eye on your surroundings and you should find a Foxspark in no time. And while you mostly want to use these in base, if you can also craft the saddle for them, you might actually want to consider taking one out into combat. Instead of allowing you to use the creature as a mount, Foxsparks' saddle lets you use it as a weapon. A flamethrower to be more specific, which deals some pretty decent damage too, especially against grass type pals. It has a decent amount of charge too, so even when fighting multiple enemies, it's a good weapon to have in your arsenal. And although it can't be used as a literal weapon, the next pal is also a great companion for out in the field. Eikthyrdeer is actually somewhat of an upgrade for Rushoar, because like that pal, Eikthyrdeer can be mounted if you craft a saddle for it. This one requires a bit more work as you need to reach tech level 12, but it's more than worth it because when mounted, Eikthyrdeer has access to a double jump, meaning it's much easier to scale rocky terrain or hills when you have one of these as a mount. It's also pretty useful in base as it's one of the first pals you're likely to come across with the lumbering skill, meaning it can cut wood for you, which is another much needed resource for pretty much all crafting. If you want to catch one, I recommend you stick to the same route as I explained for the Foxsparks, so the grassy Behemoth Hills fast travel travel point and then follow the road east back up the hill. Eikthyrdeer are a bit of a rarer spawn, so you might have to search around a bit more than for the previous pals on the list, but again, it's totally worth your time for that mounted double jump. But if you really want to be unburdened by mountains, cliffs and the like when exploring, you might want to consider catching a flying mount too. You can actually get one surprisingly early by looking around the northern part of the starting map. We're looking for a flying creature called Nitewing, so keep your eyes on the sky to see if you spot one. I found mine over here to the south of the sealed realm of the Frozen Wings waypoint. You will need a bow or some sort of ranged weapon to draw the creature's aggro, but once you do, it will come down and you can fight and capture it. Then you need to get your tech level up to 15 in order to be able to unlock and craft the saddle, so just level up and keep unlocking waypoints to eventually reach that. And then when you summon Nitewing, you are able to mount it and take flight. Flying does cost stamina though, it's not limitless, but it drains pretty slowly and even more so if you hover still in midair. Obviously, flying up a cliff is much quicker and easier than climbing it, so it's really useful to catch a Nitewing early to add it to your team. And by the way, good to know that if your stamina runs out mid-flight, you are kicked off the mount. But it doesn't actually drain your stamina, so if you have a glider equipped, you can still use that to catch your fall. Or even better yet, you can head over to these shores to catch yourself a Celeray. Although it is a water type pal, its partner skill Zephyr Glider actually helps you traverse the air more easily. When you craft the required gloves for the skill to activate, which only require tech level 7, you will use the Celeray instead of a glider as long as it's in your party. And it doesn't have to be your active pal, as long as it's on the team you will trigger this effect. And Celeray is a much more effective glider than the one you can craft for yourself early on, as you drop much slower, meaning you can glide much further before hitting the ground. They're super easy to find and catch, so definitely worth to add one of these to your team. Now I want to head back to that northern part of the island, because if you go exploring around that area, you'll also likely spot a boss marker for the pal Chillet. Bosses are a bit tougher to take down and catch than regular pals, but they always spawn in the same location, so you simply need to head to this exact spot to try and catch one yourself. At level 11, it's the easiest boss I've come across, and it also means you can try and capture it relatively quickly. And while they're not that tough as a boss, once it's on your side, Chillet is actually a very strong fighter. Since it's both ice and dragon types, it can learn attacks from both elements, and especially Ice's capacity to freeze targets is really nice to add to your arsenal. The dragon attacks on the other hand are useful during nighttime, as they are effective against the dark type creatures that come out when night falls. You are able to unlock a saddle for it at tech level 13 as well, which means you can ride it and direct the attacks yourself, but even without that, this icy dragon is pretty strong. What's good to know is that if you want to catch a Chillet with a special passive, like the 20% defense buff I have on mine, it will eventually respawn in the same location. So you can keep coming back here to catch a new Chillet and hope you get one with a passive you like. And if you want to double down on your firepower, it's worth to go out exploring during the night to catch yourself a Daedream. As you can see in the pal deck, these don't show up during the day, but can be found pretty much anywhere on the first island when it's nighttime. It's an early opportunity to catch a dark type pal, but more importantly, it's one of the first pals you can craft a collar for. Like saddles, collars need to be unlocked from the tech tree before they can be crafted at a pal workbench, but instead of allowing you to mount or pick up your pal, it will instead stay out and help you in combat as long as it is in your party, even when it's not your active party member. So effectively, it allows you to have two pals in battle, with Daedream constantly firing pretty powerful fireballs at enemies who attack you. One thing you should keep in mind is that Daedream will continue attacking even if you withdraw your main pal, so if you're out to capture rather than kill, it might be better to leave it in the pal box. But if you're gearing up for a fight, however, adding Daedream to your party will do wonders for your damage output. Subscribe for more Palworld videos, a like would really help us out, and if it's already up, you can check another Palworld video by clicking on the screen. I will see you in the next one, goodbye.